Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Parish Council meeting of the 26th of September. I have been informally asked to open the agenda as we don't have a current chair, and the first item on the agenda is to consider the appointment of the chair of the council and to receive then to receive their declaration of office. After the election we had an informal chat and I would like to propose Phil Barratt as chair. I found him through the years that I've known him to be very balanced, very articulate and a very good listener. So my proposal would be that Phil Barratt should be elected to chair of the council. Would anyone second my proposal or any other?
I'd like to second it.
Any objections?
Okay. Raise your hands if those in favour.
So just put your hands up a minute, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Any against? Any abstain?
Thank you. I need to sign a declaration now, don't I?
Ask these positions to be for this year.
Right, well, thank you. Having been elected as chair, I'd just like to say a few words, if I may. Can I use it as an acceptance sort of speech, having been elected as chair? Or do I need to put that? Minimal. No, but it's just a few words that I've prepared, so I know what I'm going to say. Good evening to you all. Thank you for coming out this evening and appreciate your attendance here this evening, and thank you to John for your kind words. This Parish Council has not sat to conduct business since July 2023. So I would very much like to start by thanking you, the residents, for your patience. I'm sure we're all looking forward to getting things moving again. I would like to thank the previous parish councillors for their work in representing the people of this parish. Public service can be difficult and a thankless task at times. However, I am grateful for their efforts. I'd also like to thank David Elgar, who sat at the back, for his coming forward to stand. Despite the result, David, I hope you continue to be active and engage with a positive contribution to this council. The parish of Thornton deserves the very best parish council. Moving into the future, I believe together we can deliver a fresh start with a more positive direction. I hope we can now move away from the negative relationships and bad media coverage, and we should focus on building bridges. This council should strive to work as a team and engage with the public at every opportunity. I think we all recognise we need to work together to make good things happen, and this council will create opportunities to do so. We will remain accountable and transparent, and we will take positive steps to listen to the views and opinions of everybody in this community. Having said that, in the spirit of openness and transparency, I would like to address recent news reports referring to breaches of electoral legislation. Say again? Not appropriate now. Okay, well I'll publish a statement on it at a later time for everybody to read. We as a collective group accept the responsibility for the honest mistake, and we all apologise. It is of course right and proper that those representing the public should be held to account, and whilst the intentions of the complaint are unclear, we are disappointed how this complaint led to negative media coverage. I think it would be useful to briefly explain the format of this meeting this evening. You may have noticed on the agenda there is a no public session, and therefore this meeting remains a formal council meeting. The public may not comment unless you feel you have information which impacts on a decision making. Rest assured, however, at the conclusion of this meeting, I will provide further information regarding our future plans for public consultation and how we intend to listen to residents and create opportunities to get involved. So, getting back to the agenda, I'd like to highlight, if I may please, agenda item 2324, 52C. I believe that this item is of a confidential nature. The council, just the C, yeah. Yeah. Going on, I think discussion is required involving sensitive issues around payments and finance. So to manage the smooth running of the meeting, I've got two proposals. To bring forward agenda items 53, 54 and 55, or if you want to look at it as just pushing back that item C. So I would like to propose a motion to bring forward agenda items 53, 54 and 55. Is there anybody who would like to second that motion, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you. The second proposal I have is to hold a closed meeting at the end of this meeting to discuss item 52C for the reasons that I've previously explained. Is there a seconder for that motion, please? Can we have a closed session? How do we discuss something of a confidential and sensitive nature in an open council meeting? Is it an emergency closed meeting? So what is the alternative then? Because there's a real reluctance to discuss that in public meeting.
Is that all payments?
Yeah, grass cutting and such like. The reason being that we want to discuss contractual information and such like, something that we're not familiar with because we're new in post.
You'll have to call the next one meeting.
Can we do it this evening?
No? Give me a 3 days notice.
So can I move to have item C not discussed this evening? Or do we just defer it when we get to it?
I will get to it and see if it's all of it, if there's anything you're going to approve. Because you are looking at various things which you contracts.
We're not discussing contracts, we're discussing
You're not paying.
payments. It says a list of payments, and obviously your payment as well, an additional payment to be considered. We're not talking about contracts. Well, we'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, thank you for your advice. So, We best then return to the published agenda. So, the next item on the published agenda is to appoint a vice chair, please.
I would like to propose David Green for the vice chair.
And I would like to second him.
Okay, thank you. That's right. Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm going to ask.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Mr. Green, are you
Accept.
happy to accept the
Very,
position?
very happy.
And we need to have a vote on it. So, all those in favour, please? All those against? And and two abstaining. Thank you. Yeah, no apologies. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is to receive declarations of interest in items on the agenda. Anybody here present in council wish to make any such declarations? That's a resounding no.
Just the minutes of the two meetings, so we need two councillors here.
Yes, yeah. And that applies to both. So, next item is to receive and sign minutes of previous meetings, that being on the 18th of July and the 25th of July. And the clerk has just said that really they should be signed and received by the two councillors who were at those meetings. Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, we've had one.
You have?
Yeah. Can't find pages to.
Yes, please. This is basically just statement of facts. It's not a because there's no.
Ah. Is that the one on the 25th?
Just ask any objections to the minutes.
Are there any objections to the minutes? We'll all receive a copy, won't we? So,
Yeah, Henry got his copy from me, so that's okay.
we did it. Right, thank you, Margaret.
Oh, yeah, you need your initials on there.
Okay. Next item, item 52, is to receive and consider matters raised by the parish clerk or the responsible financial officer. It is indeed the same person. A is to consider new bank application - Virgin Bank. Do you have some update with regards to that?
So, at the moment, we have no access to that bank, and for 9 months previous, there was trying to change bank mandates, didn't have. So we were advised to try and get an online bank. It's in the position that it's ready to go as soon as we get you all on it. North Yorkshire are holding your second precept to go into that bank so that you can conduct business, because at the moment we have no access to the other bank. So if you agree to this new bank account, you would all go on it who have internet, PC access and phone access, because you have to use an app and a PC together. So you would go on, the clerk would put payments on, you would then get 2 people who would approve them, the payments.
That can be done remotely, presumably.
Yes, do that remotely,
Yeah.
yes.
The advice to go with the online banking then, was that, who was that from?
SLCC now,
SLCC.
see Roger Taylor now, and North Yorkshire.
Any comments at all from the council?
The monies that North Yorkshire Council are holding, are they not able to put it in the Barclays account
Can put it
anyway?
in there, but how do we get to it? You have no money to do business.
And how long will it take to sign up to the Virgin account?
Rebecca,
48.
I filled my paperwork in to do internet banking with Barclays in February. They have lost my paperwork.
We're in my experience, we don't fill the bank, it's 48 hours. There's no reason that you have to close up the bank, but it gives you a safety net at the same time.
Is Barclays the only bank we have?
It's,
We've got no monies anywhere else? She talked about Lloyds Bank at one point.
They used to have Lloyds in the back, but before the previous clerk's time, but that went a long time ago. Was it NatWest or Lloyds? Sorry, sorry. And Skipton you had, didn't you, in the past?
There was an account in Skipton Building Society which was a reserve account. Can you run us through the process for authorising payments?
So what happens is, you would authorise a payment in a meeting, then I would put them on the bank, and then I send an email out to say I've nominated two in the bank to authorise them, and you go into the app, say if you approve them, because the closed meeting, independently, and then when the second person has authorised it, the payment will go.
And what's the process for banking cash? Process for banking cash?
We don't receive any cash, I've not known us receive cash.
Allotment payments, or was it something which cost more
The,
money?
Chairs.
they've all been checked in my period. There was £120 for Holly, which I just put in the post office.
So you can do that with
Yeah,
the card?
yeah, with Virgin, yeah.
And who holds the Virgin card for that account?
Whether you choose to want to have a debit, but you do. With the other councils I have, we don't hold a debit card.
So we don't hold one in Barclays, do we?
No,
Is there much need for a debit card?
not really.
No.
You can just do a bank transfer for most payments.
Yeah, well, I accept that. It's just the odd payment for cash, which maybe, as you say, Holly.
The
or-
other way is somebody does a bank transfer into the account for the cash.
So we've got some real difficulties then not having access to Barclays Bank.
Yes,
Um,
I've been in numerous times
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they cannot help
No,
us at all.
I get that. But they are holding our money, or the council's
At
money.
the moment,
Have they made assurances that the transfer of those funds to,
no, we can't get
The
that at the
only
moment.
people that can transfer,
Can I
I think
finish,
they're
please,
the people
councillor?
that want.
Please can I finish, councillor? We will have to get legal advice to get the ex-signatories to either sign a transfer. If they continue to refuse, we'll have to get a court order to get them to be removed, and then it'll be a bank account with no signatories, and then we'll be able to speak to the bank directly.
so the signatory situation is that you need two signatories to
Yeah.
access the funds in Barclays?
Yes,
And we have two signatories, but they're previous councillors.
yes.
Okay. And if we were to speak directly with those two individuals,
There's 4 signatories on
there's
there.
4 signatories. If we spoke to the 4 and attained their approval to transfer the funds directly from Barclays to the new account, is that doable?
They've already said it right in the rules.
Okay. Do you know why that is? Is it possibly because they're no longer on the council, or they lack a little bit of confidence that they don't have
I
council
can't
behind
put
them?
words
or-
into somebody else's
Okay.
mouth.
I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for us to speak to the 4 and find out their feelings as to why they're not prepared to sign. And then if we can offer some sort of confidence, maybe a covering letter from this council to say that they have our backing to do that, they might play ball, so to speak, and make the process a bit easier. But in terms of setting up this Virgin online account, it's about 48 hours.
That's what it happened last time.
Yeah, brilliant. And do we need funds to open the account?
No, the account's ready,
Right, gotcha.
just need to add into it,
Yeah,
and
okay.
then North Yorkshire will transfer you to Sept.
Sure. Any other comments at all? Yeah, no objections? Do we have to vote on it, or what's the process? We just, as it
You
says,
are,
to
you are,
receive and
you
give
are,
up,
you
consider.
are, you are considering, you are making a decision.
To adopt the Virgin Bank application, or to accept the Virgin Bank application. Shall I put that as a,
I'd like to defer it.
okay?
I'd like to speak to Barclays.
You need to put that, you need to put that, you need to put it to the vote.
Okay. Can you go further, Rebecca? Why do you want to speak to Barclays?
How long have you been with Barclays? How long have we been with Barclays?
Approximately 3 years, I believe. It started at the beginning of the previous clients, then transfer.
Yeah, so 3 to 5 years.
Right.
There is contractual. You are not voting to close the account, you are voting to open another account to give you the ability to do business. You have got contractual
Obligations, yeah.
that you will be legally obliged to meet, that you are all legally liable for now.
Okay, so we've got some concerns that Rebecca has raised around Barclays. I've already said that we really ought to seek confirmation from the current signatories as to why they're reluctant to sign, and we might be able to offer them some support. But this agenda item is to consider opening up a Virgin online account, which I think if we were to progress, it would do us no harm to have that account. And it just seems a sensible way forward if we can get Barclays to play ball as well. So I'll put that to the vote, to open up an online Virgin bank account. All those in favour, please. And against? And abstaining? Okay, thank you.
So
What
we
do you need us to
don't
do now?
need to waste money time in the meeting.
Right.
All I need to do is fill these out before we leave tonight.
Well, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can do them at the end of the meeting. It's just.
Okay, right, moving on then to 52B, to consider adoption of amended policies following advice from YLCA. There are 4 policies that have been amended, and the first one is standing orders. Say again? I have read standing orders, yes, I have. A number of times. It's a very, very exciting document.
Right. Standing orders and financial regulations have changed due to the change in contractual sums value.
Yep.
In February 2023.
So can I just focus on standing orders? The stuff that was sent through, if I printed off the standing orders, section 3 in relation to public participation. Let me just get the original. And there's some text on the document that's highlighted in yellow. Is that the amendment?
No, there are times that have always been on in
Ah,
our page. The
okay.
amendment of the standing orders is 30k of the contractual value.
So I'm talking about the amended document that was sent in relation to standing orders. This one. Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, the advice from the YLCA was to receive things in writing of questions, because then we have a log of questions so
Yeah.
that we know what we formally replied to.
Yep.
And that there's a document trace.
Okay, gotcha. So the amendment for standing orders is to have people writing in.
Or afterwards, before or afterwards, so that we have a log, as they say.
Yeah, and that's people that want to ask a question in open meetings. So that's the amendment.
And 30,000 contractual.
Gotcha. It's just that I've got two different documents. The one that was sent under the amendments and the one that I printed off from the website.
Because the web is the one accepted by the council before, they don't go on the web, so we've accepted them as a council, so they've come to the meeting tonight to get accepted, and then they'll go on the web once you've accepted them.
Okay. So in addition to people submitting a question via the post, there's also another amendment that a member of the public will only be invited to speak once and shall not speak more than 3 minutes. That's not on,
That was in the advice by YCA now.
so that's the second amendment. So how many other amendments are there?
So that's all in public participation and in 30.
Are these all amendments? Because I've not had a chance to go through both and compare them.
It's just the public participation and the 30k in standing orders that change.
Any other questions with standing orders at all?
Yeah, Chair, I find there's a conflict. There's reference in the standing orders to public participation, and we have rules for a public session. And in my mind, there's a confusion between the two. And going by experience, there are 3 different forms of public participation. There are the questions to the council. There are members of the public who wish to speak on an agenda item, which in my mind is a different classification of public participation. And it's my understanding that the public question session is outside of the meeting and therefore not minuted but recorded. Am I right in that? Clark?
The council changed it before I came that they wanted it minuted, so you would have to change that
So it is currently minuted, but not as part of the meeting.
as part of the meeting.
But it's not on the agenda.
It's not on tonight's agenda.
Has it been included in previous agendas?
Yeah, there's a public session.
And the other form of public participation is when external bodies, for example, a club or society, is invited in to address the council and give us an update, or give the council an update on their activities and their aspirations for the future, which is included in neither. So my feeling is that we should defer these to a future meeting, particularly standing orders and rules for public session. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, John. Financial ones. I get your point with the financial regulations. Rules for a public session. The amended document again has been highlighted here at point 3. Is that the amendment to the policy? Because the policy on the website is completely different.
Yeah, because that's the YLCA one.
Okay.
Based on that, all right.
Okay, so are we just doing the amendment or are we doing the whole policy?
It's the whole policy.
We're considering the whole policy.
Because we said this.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, okay, I've not read the entirety. I just noticed that the document that was sent with the highlighted parts I thought were the amendments. But as you pointed out, that's time. So the document that was circulated, the rules of public session, is the brand new policy document, and it overrules what is already in existence. Okay. So we really need to compare the two policies and identify changes, in my view. Any other comments at all on that?
I did read both, the one that's on the website and that new one, and it was completely different, so.
The new one's the one recommended by the YLC.
Right, gotcha, yeah, because the other one on the website is
They don't say sounds good.
not relevant and doesn't stand out. Okay. And guidance on recording or filming at meetings. I think you're going to say exactly the same thing, aren't you? That the one that was circulated is a YLCA, so we have to consider. We're not being asked to consider amendments. We're being asked to consider a complete change in policy, aren't we? Yeah. Any comment on that at all? I think if we're having to consider a complete change of policy, I'm going to need time to read through them all and just have a look anyway. And
Financial regulations is the legal document the council must hold. You must have a real reason to not adopt the new financial regulations. You are breaching the Local Government Act 1972 if you do not accept the financial regulations.
we could be in trouble. Well, that makes it simple then, doesn't it? So, I'm going to propose we defer the reading and sanctioning of standing orders, rules for public session, guidance on recording and film at meetings, just so that we consider them in its entirety as a full and new policy. And then I'm going to propose that we accept tonight the financial regulations amendment. We don't want to get ourselves into trouble again, do we? So, all those in favour of that, please? Raise your hands.
2 votes there.
Sorry?
There's 2 votes.
2 votes, right. The first vote then is to accept the financial regulations amendment. All those in favour of that one, please? Okay, perfect. That's everybody. The second proposal then is to defer the standing orders, rules of public session, guidance on recording or filming at meetings, just so that we can get our head around it. To defer, all in favour? Against? And abstain? Yeah, sure. I guess we'll bring those 3 back to the next agenda, do we?
The next one's not on the next agenda, so they'll have to jump on.
Okay, next agenda item is 52C, which I've already spoken about at the beginning of the meeting, and that is to consider the list of payments and the clerk's salary, with additional payments to be considered for the next pay period.
That's irrelevant, that bit.
Sorry, which bit?
There isn't an additional payment.
Oh, right,
It's just that all payments including salaries and contractual payments.
okay. Now, I did propose that we could discuss that this evening in a closed meeting after the public meeting, and the reason for that is I felt that we were discussing payments and salary principles that are based on contracts. To give an example, the grass cutting, we owe the grass cutter some money, and it's quite right that he should be paid for the work that he's done, and indeed we owe the clerk money as well, and it's quite right that she be paid for the work that she's done. But in order to make a proper and informed decision about these payments, members of the council need to be fully aware of what the contracts are, etc, etc, etc. So I made the proposal earlier that we could have a closed meeting and discuss that in confidence, but the clerk has quite rightly told me that it's not something legally we can do. We have to go to something called a closed meeting, which is 3 days, is it?
Closed session is 3 working days.
Closed session is 3 working weeks. So on that basis, I'm going to invite comments from council in respect of whether we discuss this here and now, or whether we perhaps think about deferring it. We have to consider apparently we're in breach of contract. The reason why the council is in breach of contract is because the council hasn't been sitting for so long, and we haven't had access to the bank account for so long, and we haven't had signatories being prepared to access the money that the grass cutting, AJ isn't it? The grass cutter AJ hasn't been paid. Okay, the grass cutter hasn't been paid, the clerk hasn't been paid. They are contractual obligations that the council have had.
And the decision you make tonight will also exacerbate your breach of contract. Please be careful.
There we are, so that's all there. So is there any further comment from the council at all?
Please be careful.
I mean, what are we looking to agree this evening? I mean, because it's the item agenda is to consider the list of payments which we've had.
There's 28 payments there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 14 went through, that you just need to posthumously approve that were paid, and then it's 14 that are not being paid yet.
I mean, the truth of the matter is that if we agree in principle that the payment should be made, in practical terms, we can't make the payments anyway because we can't access the Barclays account. Is that correct? So either way,
you'll have access to the other bank as soon as it can, and
Yeah.
you'll have done everything that you contractually can
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not your fault that you can't open that bank and you can't physically do the money.
So what you are saying is that the contracts that, like grass cutter, the tender went out and his tender came in, so his contract, because there's quite a lot extra which aren't on his contract. It says here, grass cutting as per contract map. Well, I'm quite happy to...
The other areas are as per meeting agreed that he was going to continue with the extra areas, so that is a verbal minuted contract. The council agreed that he was going to take up the grass cuttings at the end of the year, so you verbally and in writing in the minutes contractually agreed to that.
And what about number 58 that is backdated to 2022?
Because in his contract, it says that all the extras he was allowed to cut, he was asked to cut, the council are obliged to pay any that is been asked.
Because he actually did say at the grass cutting meeting that he was happy to absorb 2022.
But it's in the contract that.
So, I need to see his contract.
His
I'm
contract,
quite happy paying what he's contracted to do with his tender.
his contract changed altogether because he took over cutting of the churchyard and the cemetery.
That's a separate contract. That's a separate contract to the actual contract of the village grass cutting.
You've seen all the contracts.
I haven't seen actually all of it because I didn't take all of it. So I haven't actually seen all of it.
Well, look, we need to move this forward really, and as we've discussed it already, with the limited information that we have, we just need to feel, I think, in essence, this council is completely different from the previous council that made these decisions, and Rebecca is quite correct that we should honour the previous council's decisions and we should honour the contracts that are in place. And I'm speaking specifically to both, but we've had a discussion around grass cutting. So if we can move payments for the grass cutting forward first of all, I personally can't see any objection to paying the man that is owed money, or agreeing at least this evening to do so. The practicalities of it might be somewhat difficult, but in principle, the motion would be to pay the grass cutter what he's owed. Say again? Well, I'm just talking about the grass cutter first, because I'm going to propose the motion that we agree in principle to pay a man.
You need to agree all payments. You need to ask,
For the,
you need to look at all payments and even to reject.
okay. So, we have to deal with all the payments in full. Okay, well that's simple enough then. So we're now considering also the clerk's payments and the money that the clerk is owed under contractual obligation from the previous council. Sorry, Marguerite, what was that? Is there a drainage one?
You've got the water up at the cemetery, the water at the allotments. You've got HMRC, you've got hall hire, you've got the Cllr Park grants.
The HMRC, is that pay as you earn for yourself?
Yes. There is another payment due. I'm waiting for the payroll man to get back to me because he says it's actually near £800 we owe the HMRC and there is fines on there at the moment. Apparently it goes years back when it's not balanced. So I'm still waiting for the evidence of that, but this is the payment at the moment.
Is there a breakdown on the £800 HMRC?
And that's what I'm asking for.
Right, okay.
It goes back years and it's quite muddled, so it's...
So it would be fair to pay as you earn and national insurance?
Yeah, and fines.
Okay, if we take the payments as a whole then, rather than individually, the motion is to, the agenda item is to consider the list and approve payments, albeit we recognise that we have limited information to make this decision on, but we do recognise that these are payments that are contractually obliged by the previous council, and also there are going to be practical difficulties in getting access to the funds. Are there any more comments from council before we go to motion?
When we open this Virgin bank account, we do, how long does it take for the council to put the money into that?
It's due to be released on the 29th of December.
December.
Sorry! Sorry, apologies.
We've had enough delay, haven't we?
September, 3 days time,
Right.
but they're holding it till I tell them to release it. If the
So as soon as
system,
it's released,
if the system works, they're holding it.
and then we can pay it literally within a week then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, going back to the HMRC, there must be some sort of record of what's going on.
Payroll people will bring,
Right.
I've asked for it.
Yeah, and if it's gone back a long time, why hasn't it been issued or why hasn't it been highlighted earlier? Because obviously the fines have gone on and on.
How far back can they go, the HMRC?
Because when you pay, all they do is pay the old off. And it's never ever been reconciled in its life. It was actually him going onto the HMR system, was it yesterday when I emailed you all? They said, oh actually there's £800 here. I said, how can there be? 'Cause the last cheque went. He said, it looks like this goes back years.
So I'm surprised it hasn't been highlighted. Have we had letters from HMRC? at all?
Not that I see, but we've not got the post, we're not getting all the post.
If it's gone back years, somebody must have highlighted it. Having run a business, I know that they're soon on to you if not.
Yes, but if you keep paying, it pays off the old stuff. We're only getting into fines now because we've not paid the last quarter, we've stopped paying.
Right, so the fines aren't going back.
No, they're just the amount outstanding.
It's the amount outstanding is the recent non-payment of pension and national insurance.
So the fines then shouldn't be so far back?
No, exactly. So it's a recent.
Yeah,
It's
it's a recent one, not a fine,
Yeah.
fines from way back then.
The way you said it, Gary, was that you know, it went back years, but in fact it doesn't. It just goes back to recent.
Well, the imbalance goes back years, that's what Rich was telling me.
I don't get that, but anyway.
Okay, well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we'll perhaps move this on, accepting of course that we have already agreed to the opening up of the new online Virgin account, accepting that the precept on the 29th of September will be paid into that account, which will give us clear access to funds to pay these outstanding payments. Alongside that, we will have to explore the Barclays Bank situation. Are there any more comments at all with regards to this matter, or we can just go straight to a motion to accept to pay the outstanding payments as listed?
Can I just ask the clerk, what's the deposit in Barclays, please, at the moment?
There's nothing in there because
Nothing in at all.
until you voted that it was allowed to be opened, it's sat there ready.
No,
Barclays.
Sorry,
Barclays,
I don't know, because I've no access to a bank statement.
Can't get a bank statement, only those four that can sign that can get a bank statement.
Can you give us a ballpark figure
Yeah.
from when you did have access to the previous statement?
It's quite concerning if we don't know what we've actually got in the bank. It's
About
concerning to me.
40, I think there's 45,000 there, but there has some money kept going in as the Masons have put and funerals have happened.
And did you explore switching accounts?
I can't do an account switch without the council.
Right, did the council explore? You mentioned that this had been going on for several months.
Yes, it was
Did the
objected.
previous council
The
explore
previous
switching?
chair objected.
Thank you.
Okay, are we in agreement then to pay the payments outstanding as previously discussed? All those in favour, please? That's everybody, Karen. Moving on.
Just,
Oh, sorry.
I do need councillors to sign against each, 2 councillors to sign against each payment.
Can we do that? Can we do those forms at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, because you've accepted to,
Agenda item number 53, to consider working with the YLCA to complete a salary clerk role review for review of salary point and hours prior to employment of a permanent clerk. I don't really have much comment really, unless you could just give some context and some information further around it.
basically, whilst here, look at the role and advise you how to advertise it, and at what point on the NAL scale that it should go out at.
And so the agenda item is just really looking for council to agree to work with the YLTA.
Yeah,
to
so
do that.
basically, that it isn't a free service, it's a paid for service, it's outside your membership services. It's approximately £36 an hour and they estimate about 8 hours to do this work, but I think it's prudent to do it.
And who undertakes the work?
YLCA contracts somebody to do it.
Are there any alternatives then that might be a little bit cheaper or preferably free?
You've got YLCA who are advising you on the role of a clerk, that is a specialised role.
Yeah. But they're not paying to do it.
Anyone who was advising you to appoint someone to do a specialised role won't be able to do it.
Okay. Is this something that's compulsory?
No?
Any other thoughts?
Well, I feel as a new councillor, we maybe do need some advice. Personally.
I think so too. I think it is something which we've done in the past, not for the previous clerk, but that clerk's predecessor. And it would encompass sort of additional rules like the cemetery and the sort of contractual things that we do. So I think
Need
it's,
somebody that's very, very good with finance as well, not just the secretary.
Mm.
It's got to be a good financial person.
Yeah, well, they're all good points. Yeah, okay.
Finance is important.
Very simple then, isn't it? So having considered it then, we're all in agreement, the motion would be to... You do? Okay, well let's put it to the vote then, Marguerite, shall we? All those in favour? There we are. Okay, item number 54 is to note the YLCA. We're all familiar with what the YLCA is. It's the Yorkshire Local Council Association. Is it a governing body or?
It's a help. They are a non-profit making entity. They sit below NALP. NALP is the National Association for Local Government, and they feed in to government the laws of parish council and help bring it back. You are members of it voluntary, but they provide training for councillors to ensure that they're doing things lawfully.
Thank you, very helpful. Now the audience understands. I'll have to go on James training, Margaret, yes, which I think is a 2-week course in the Barbados. Okay, 54, to note the YLCA whole council training on the 31st of October. It's just a date for our diaries really, isn't it? Don't think we-
It will be an afternoon session, 3 hours,
Yeah.
the 7 councillors to attend.
Okay. Any further comment at all on that? No, have you?
If I did it 3 till 6, does anyone have any difficulties with that?
I have difficulties with the 31st of October.
Is that all day, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Are there any alternative days?
Well, it's for fishing boats.
How often are the courses?
Not often, and that was a spare day. It'd be the next quarter, I should think, before you get another one.
Could that be recorded though, so Rebecca could see what was going on if she didn't attend that, or do we all have to attend it?
No, it's not compulsory that you all attend. It would be helpful.
Would you be, sorry,
You could consider going on a flying start training on another day. That would probably help you. If you did go to the whole council.
I'm not here on the 31st.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I'll look into it because I can go on the website, can't I?
Yeah, the flying start would be a similar course that would help.
And would that, what sort of dates are those, do we know?
They run them monthly.
And is that at Wetherby?
No, some are online, some are at Lancaster.
Right.
The benefit of the whole council training, they can work the agenda around you.
Yeah.
It's not a set course format, so they can run like through a format of the flying start, but they can also do it for you.
Can we look to see when the next one is? training day, because I would actually quite like to do it with everybody. As I say, I'm not here on that day.
Is it just the one day you're not here?
There's a few days I'm not here.
You'd like to follow with them dates and then I've got something to go out?
Right.
Are the dates published on the?
No, you apply for training and they offer you a date.
Oh, I see. So it's not something that we can have a look at ourselves?
No, they say that they published 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
this was given to us before they even published it, just to go very quickly.
Okay, well, if we
The
could,
last one we did was about 3 months ago, wasn't it?
if we could pencil the 31st, but look to get an alternative date so that we can all go together. Thank you. Okay. The last item on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is 55, and is to confirm the council meeting dates to add as below, commencing at 7:30. Any comments from council?
Yeah, I
John.
think that given the information we've just been given about the bank account, that it would be prudent to postpone the 3rd of October meeting.
It's published.
Can it be cancelled?
Why do you want to cancel it now?
Given the information that, like I just said, about the bank accounts, and the prospect that the bank account won't be set up by next Tuesday, and I presume there'll be another schedule of payments to clear, I would think it would be prudent to adjourn that meeting to a later date, when the council can approve any payments that are there. So we can do a bit of catch-up when we've got the bank account.
But it's not all about the bank account and that, so
Otherwise-
there is some items on that agenda. There are some pressing legal issues on that agenda
Which are,
to deal with the cemetery. And even if there was payments on the next agenda, you would be meeting your contractual obligations by approving them, even if you couldn't physically pay them.
much like today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite a long one, isn't it? Notice probably has been served.
Mm. So, I think John raises a valid point. We have to sort out the banking business. We'd like to get these payments obviously sorted out. We've deferred a couple of items with regards to adoption of policies and amendments, and I was just looking at the next council meeting that there are also lots of other adoption and re-adoption of council policies. In fact, tonight there were 4, the next meeting there are 6. So with the 3 that we carry over and the 6 that are already on there, that'll be 9.
No, they can't go on the next agenda.
They can't go on this one?
No, they can't
Right,
go on
they'll go on the
agenda.
next one. Well, there's 6 others to consider. I think we have to consider that a lot of members of the council here are new members of the council. We haven't had our training yet. We haven't been privy to a lot of documents until the last couple of days, well, since the 21st. We certainly haven't had access to contracts and whatnot. There's a lot of information for us to gather, to take on board, and then ultimately make decisions on. Now, I think it would be wise and fair to everybody involved, not just council, but to the electorate, that we make any decisions fully briefed and informed. For that reason, I would support John's comments in that we defer the 3rd. The 3rd to the 7th would, I think, give us time to get things together. I accept your comments with regards to the finances, and I also accept your comments with regards to the cemetery. and I would be keen to explore any other options available to us or contingency in order to sort of cover those points. Any other comments or?
Chair, there is no, even though it's on the agenda, it doesn't mean you have to make a decision that night, but it doesn't stop you discussing it.
I don't want to drag everybody out just to go through an agenda that we defer most things, because like this evening, we have gone ahead with item C in the best interests of people that it affects. But is there really anything on here that's super urgent that we need to meet on the 3rd? Because a lot of it isn't really, is it? In my view.
Yeah, we just need more time.
I need more time.
What time,
Sorry?
what time are you asking for? The council has not met for a number of months.
So I'm just seeking comment with what I've just said, really. As a compromise, is there any scope to bring the 7th forward a week?
I think that's leaving it too long.
Too long for what?
I think we need to literally look at a lot of stuff
Yeah.
before we make any decisions.
Sorry, you say you think it's too long?
I think it'd be good, sorry, because if we do this thing on the 31st, that will be more knowledgeable.
Yes, a good point.
So,
What you want in that council now?
yeah, so,
Where to?
Well, it's a compromise, isn't it?
They said it was penciled in. Because you were going to look to see if there was another day.
The walk me another day earlier.
Well, it was penciled in and you were going to check when the next training was.
It's a unique situation we find ourselves in where 5 members of this council are brand spanking new.
And I just say, when I joined the council, I did not see any paperwork until Callum signed, because the ex-chair wouldn't let us have anything.
Yeah.
And God is an old council, and there's always an old council. So there's only 2 new councils, 3 new councils, and they're being trained.
Correct.
I think in the interest of the 3 new councillors, I propose we go with the 7th, probably back to the 7th of November.
And what about the payments that are due before then?
Well, what date would,
Would they be due?
25th of the month.
25th of October.
but if we've got the new bank account set up, then we can sign on that.
And we've got to do it.
Or we've got to approve them first.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be approved and
Unless you approve the contractual payments to be made prior to the next meeting.
can we do that?
Yes, you can.
Well, that would, to me,
That the
seem
ongoing, that
reasonable.
it makes sense that you could approve your employee, your contractors, like your grass cutters, their invoices that come in, that they could go on for you to approve, and then you'd approve the payment in the meeting posthumously. There'd also be the bin at the cemetery, maybe under the water.
What we need is a list of when payments are due. And then,
I don't know when they all come, but if the grass cutter gets paid, he'll restart work.
I can say he said he hoped to do another one in October.
Once he gets paid,
Yeah.
and then his bill will come at the end of the month. Then the payments due on the 25th.
So as a compromise, should we bring forward the 7th of November meeting to the 24th of October, which is prior to when the payments are due? It would give the new chair an opportunity to discuss with the clerk any future agendas to ensure that they aren't too burdensome. and that we deal with essential business in the process of catching up.
And I just remind you,
business.
councillor, that the agenda is the clerks to tell. It isn't the chair or any councillor to dictate, it is the clerks to put the agenda out of what items come in for the parish.
Okay, and what about agenda items which members of the council want putting on the agenda?
You notified them at the previous meeting.
At the previous meeting, not in writing beforehand.
You can suggest them.
Okay. Because I'm sure going forward, members of the council will have items which they require to be put on the agenda, and we will need to have a clear process by which that is done.
It's clear in the Government Act 1972.
Okay.
Which bit? Have a look. Or was it that'll be the training that went on to? So the 24th, would that be a viable option?
I'm in agree, Carrie.
Is it a viable option for yourself? Is it a viable option for her council, the 24th of October?
No, half term's the following week.
Okay, well let me go then to the vote. Propose the motion that we first of all, well no, I can do it in both, can't I? We defer next meeting, 3rd of October, back to the 24th of October. All those
Can we
in,
do away with the November one?
well we can discuss that on the 24th, can't we? Just keep it for now, that we defer the 3rd to the 24th of October. All those in favour?
The problem is if you defer the November one, that will be your budget preset meeting, and you should be able to get you a very draft budget for October. But if we're going by the North Yorkshire State, that will be your budget preset for November.
Okay, I think the whole purpose for looking at the 3rd is for the reasons that we spoke about, which is giving us a bit of time, but also to cover the things that we need to cover. We can discuss what we're going to do on the 7th, on the 24th, can't we? I'm just talking now about deferring the 3rd to the 24th. And that's the motion. All those in favour? And against?
Can't see any.
And abstaining. Okay. Pardon? You're here, Marguerite. If you're not, you're not. Okay, well that indeed concludes this evening's meeting. May I just thank you all for attending this evening. I did promise at the beginning that I would mention some public consultation opportunities, and I'll just quickly run through those. It takes 30 seconds before I close. But we'd like to engage positively in public consultations, what I've already said. So I would like to introduce some specific consultation meetings with the public rather than the 15 minutes at these meetings. There will be individual set dates where we invite members of the public in, and we would discuss things on a focused sort of basis to work towards a new parish plan. Well, I'm just kind of laying it out really no, I'm not saying it's going to happen, just, we'll bring it to the meeting and we'll put it to the vote and such like. But the general idea that I've had is to have these public meetings. So I'd encourage everybody to remain interested in the council, because what you've got to say is important and we do really want to listen. So on that note, thank you again, and I declare the meeting as closed.